I am very excited and proud to be introducing our TEA SATE Seattle 2019 keynote speaker. Born in India and raised in Bangladesh and Nairobi before emigrating to the US, she's a leader who brings her whole self to the workplace and to everything that she does. The wealth of unique experiences that she's garnered as a third culture kid have proven vital to both her professional and personal lives. A SCAD graduate and advocate for women of color, and one of at least 2 certified scuba divers to share this stage this week, Neiha Arora is the senior recruiter at Starbucks and your TEA SATE Seattle 2019 keynote speaker. Her path getting here is certainly extraordinary, but as she would tell you, a focus on diverse and inclusive communities is a driving force throughout her life and career. Whether visiting a co-op coffee farm in Rwanda, humanizing the hiring process, or serving the board of an organization that grants professional opportunities to immigrants and refugees, Neiha is committed to making people feel at home and able to bring their entire selves to the workplace. And I'm truly grateful to have her speak and share her story here today. Please welcome Neiha Arora.
This was something, right? I told him I want to come in dancing on the stage, so, I did it. Yeah. Well, thank you, TEA, for having me here today. It's a great honor to be amongst some really inspiring speakers that are about to come up after me. I'm anxious, you can probably see that. I was really hoping there's going to be some crazy storm today and they're going to call me and say, Neiha, it's canceled. But we only had some light rain, damn. So I guess I had to make it this morning. The theme of this conference really stood out to me. Embracing diversity, experiences that bring people together. Made me think what the concept of home really means. I thought about this as I joggled in my half marathon this Sunday. I wasn't the first one to finish. But it made me think of this conference, it made me think of my journey, what brought me here. You can see the light up there, it's right on me. So I wanted to start off by reading you a quote by Maya Angelou. The ache for home lives in all of us. The safe place where we can go as we are and not to be questioned. So, as I was reading that quote, I wanted to figure out, what does the concept of home really mean? Concept of home never really existed for me, because it has always been about starting to relearn what I learned, creating communities, adventure, creating diverse experiences wherever I moved, and also continuing to build my cultural awareness. Bangladesh, India, Nairobi, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Savannah, Chicago, now Seattle. The list continues to grow. So I wanted to start off, that's me, right there. I wanted to start off, this is my brother. We're always trying to style it up somehow, the two of us. I feel like I end up winning, so just saying. We lived in New Delhi for some time, and then moved to Bangladesh for 6 years. It's a vivid memory because I was almost 3 years old. All I remember is going to these big fish markets, buying fish, buying chicken, bringing back home with my mom, just having a lot of fun. And those 6 years just flew by really quickly until one day, because of a lot of political unrest and because of my father's job, we had to leave the country. All I remember, my parents had been given 2 days to leave. We had to pack our bags and just leave. Leave everything that we had, the communities that we built, the friends that we built. Everything in the house. I remember my granddad flying from Delhi, coming there to come and get us. I could hear conversations of my dad saying, "Hey, would you take care of our bank accounts when we leave?" So the next thing I know, I was in New Delhi. And I just remember my parents started to travel for work quite a lot. So they left me with my grandparents. They put me and my brother separately with 2 sets of grandparents because one of them could not handle 2 of us. It's a great idea. I vividly remember missing my brother, mainly because I would just, we'd play together, we'd scream at each other, we would fight with each other, but it was kind of cool that I had my own space. Really cool. I remember my granddad taking me on a Vespa every morning as a tradition, took me to school, dropped me off, brought me back. And then there were some mornings where I'd take the rickshaw with a bunch of friends who would climb up the stairs in my grandpa's house running, "Neiha, we're ready, let's go." And I would fumble on my eyes. I'm like, "All right, let's go." And we'd take the rickshaw. I had learned my way to cross the roads, holding my friends' hands. I was probably like 5 years old. If you haven't been to New Delhi, then you should. If you've learned how to cross roads there, 5 stars to you. You can cross roads anywhere. We were just kids. We'd hold hands, we'd cross the roads, we'd jump on the rickshaw, we would sing songs until we got to school. That was like the coolest moment ever. I'm still a little anxious, as you guys can see. I made a lot of friends. My parents were away. I could ask anything from my grandparents. I was not fighting with my brother, again, because I didn't get to see him much. We had dance competitions, and I was a judge. I was 5 years old. Just a reminder of that. So that was like, I got this. I got my groove. I would be the judge. I had mangoes for lunch, dinner, and breakfast. My parents would never allow that because they'd say, "You need to have a real dinner." But my granddad did. I was home. Was this really home? My parents returned after their travels. They were coming in and out. The next thing we know, my brother's back. I'm like, "Where were you?" I didn't miss you that much. But we were moving to Nairobi. And I didn't really understand that concept. All I thought was like, "Oh my God, it's so cool, I'm going to another country." But it was for my dad. He got an opportunity there. So we moved. We moved again to Africa. Woohoo! Anybody been to Africa, Kenya, Nairobi? Yeah, awesome. I was sad. I would miss my grandparents. They were sad. I spent a lot of time with them. I'll miss all my friends that I had in my dance competition because they really looked up to me. I really looked up to them, and we were like solid friends. We were judges. We were like moving ahead in life right there. It was a fear, and I don't think I've ever shared this with my parents, except now I'm in front of all these people and sharing it, and they'll probably get to hear it. It was a fear of moving again, making new friends, learning a new language. This time, my parents are going to be staying with me and not be leaving. It was a sense of relief, but also a fear. I was wondering if I could have mangoes for lunch, dinner, and breakfast. My brother and I will be together again. We'll continue our fights. Shit got real. It really did. Obviously, I couldn't tell that to my parents because I was young, and I probably would hear back from them if I did. But it wasn't so bad. You know, we ended up staying in Nairobi, but then we traveled across Africa because of my dad's work. We were going to Zimbabwe, stayed there for a couple months, and then we went to Tanzania, then back to Nairobi. So I was really seeing the world, or Africa, through an eye of a 5-year-old, which is so cool. I got to go on safaris on my summer breaks. Right here, one of the photos. With my family, saw wild animals running around. It's their land, it's their home, they're not in zoos. No, we did not live in a tree house, and I did not have a lion as a pet, because that's a question I get all the time when I say I lived in Africa. Though, at the back of my head, I really wish I did, because that would be a really cool story to tell. And I think I made it up when I went to college that I did have a lion as a pet. I made friends from all over the world. A lot of people ask me, like, hey, you moved to Africa, but there are only African Americans there, right? Because when I tell people I'm from Kenya, they have almost a pause. I'm like, no. It's a mixed pot. There are people from all over the world coming in, working, living, a mix of traditions, a mix of cultural activities. It's almost like a mini India, because Indian people are all over the world. So, moving on. This is me in that little red circle that you see, that really angry looking face. I'm not like that usually, just saying. Went to school. This was actually my 3rd, 4th grade picture. And I don't think I was ready for this photo, but they just took it. I thought I was the only one on this journey of moving around, not knowing where I am, learning a new language. I went to school with people who didn't think or look like me, talk like me. Will I be accepted? I did not know Swahili. I knew a little bit of English, and that too in my Indian accent. So I'm like, do they understand what I'm saying? And I will confess it here, I had to repeat 3rd grade again, guys. That wasn't easy. Because what I had learned back in New Delhi would not transfer over to the schools in Kenya. And repeating 3rd grade was hard because I was the tallest person in the class. It was really tough for me. Obviously, I could not speak out loud and talk to my parents about that because I thought it was normal. But when I started thinking about it a little bit more, that it was really hard. That entire change, that feeling. My teacher supported me, told me not to worry. My accent was different. I was just learning Swahili. Here's where my journey really started. As I said, everybody was on the same journey. As I started making friends, they started telling me their stories. I started feeling comfortable, and more comfortable, and more comfortable, and myself. Moving on forward, I moved to Savannah, Georgia, after completing my school in Nairobi. As you can see, I always wanted to be a cheerleader, always. This was in 1999. My brother was already in the US. It was hard for my parents to send both the kids across to the US because my mom always complains, "Oh my God, all my kids are in the US now. I'll never get to see them again." It's true, but we do see her. I came to study. I was always an art student. That's where I felt like I could really express myself. My family was behind me. I told my dad I wanted to go to an art school, and here I was. I studied at Savannah College of Art and Design. I'll forever be thankful to my parents, my brother, in supporting my dream. Going to an art school, and that too SCAD, was a dream. So I remember we were still moving in Africa. My brother had already come here. We actually moved to Zambia at the time when I was moving here to SCAD. I was so excited. I ran to in the plane, like, "Bye, Mom, bye, Dad. I'm heading out." My mom makes sure she packed all the essentials, like every mom, every Indian mom. She gives you pillows, bed covers, utensils. We just weren't sure if we would get all of this in Savannah. And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Like, I don't want to buy any of this. I don't know what I'm going to do, like, my first day, like, how I'm going to get around and find things." I just remember my mom wearing her sunglasses at the airport, which she never does. I'm like, maybe she's styling it up, like paparazzi or something, daughter coming to the US. But I could see she was hiding her tears. They worked really hard to get us here. It wasn't easy. This was their dream. This is my dream. My dad gave me a $100 bill. I remember, just till today. To make sure, he said, "Neiha, keep that carefully in case I needed to buy something right away when I got there." And you won't believe what happened to that $100 bill. My first week in Savannah, I go and do some shopping. My dad hasn't heard this, so sorry, Dad. Instead of a $10 bill, I give away the $100 bill to the shopkeeper. Come back to my dorm room. I'm like, "Oh, I got $100. Well, no, I don't. I was like, shit. All right. Couldn't break the news to my dad or my mom because they'd be really upset. I kept it with me all these years, up till now, because you guys, I hope you'll keep it a secret here. This was heavy, because those $100 meant a lot. Supporting 2 kids going to the US wasn't easy. My dad worked a lot. My mom was his backbone. So I had to find several jobs while I was in college, just like anybody else. I wanted to support myself. But I was still trying to figure out Savannah, like how do you get around? In fact, when I was in the plane I didn't even know where Savannah was in the map. So I was actually looking at it when I was in the plane. My idea of the US was when I land here, people are just going to be super health conscious. I can be a cheerleader. I'll have all the healthy food but then I landed in the South. But for me, South didn't mean anything to me. I got to learn about that when I got here. I'm like, oh, well, people in the South, they just eat really well. Eat well as in butter. Anyways, I was just so excited about going to design school. And I always wanted to be a cheerleader. One, because I saw it in movies. I think getting flipped in the air was super cool. I was like, I want to do that. We didn't have that in Nairobi. So that was one goal. And SCAD had a cheerleading team. So I was like, yes. I only lasted a year. because I was like, oh, it's cool, but I don't know if I want to do it for the rest of my life. But it was a great experience. Belonging. You know, I didn't know I was actually going to miss home so much until probably my first quarter done. Started thinking about all my mom's cooking. I was thinking about just how I was getting spoiled, but I'm like, I got to do all my stuff here myself. I got to build my own community, my own tribe. I got to make new friends. Maybe I was getting that feeling of belonging, but I was also trying to understand again, what does it mean? Belonging is a feeling that's essential, just like food and water. Something that you cannot live without. I made some of my best friends at SCAD, continued to build my community. I could really express what I felt in art school. This is where I learned, here's what I'm going to tell you, that crisps are chips and chips are fries. That was because I went to a Burger King, probably my first quarter, and I'm like, could I get a bag of crisps? And they just looked at me. They said, do you mean chips? I'm like, no, but I don't want fries. Sorry, it was just so confusing, but I got a hang of it. But as I started growing up at SCAD, learning my way around, working on this awesome back again. Talking with my professors, going to these amazing speakers, like just being a part of leadership events and international events, and I just want to do everything outside of that, just build my community, my tribe, everything. I got that feeling of belonging. Again, just like I did when I was at my grandpa's house, when I went to Nairobi in that 3rd grade. SCAD created a space for me. I attended a lot of student leadership events. I continued to build my community. Again, I made friends who didn't think or look like me. Savannah and SCAD was my family here. Still is my family. Well, guess what? I ended up staying in Savannah for 9 years. 9 years. I tell that to people, and they're like, really? I'm like, yeah. Right after I graduated, I moved to Chicago. I did my internship, went back to Savannah, and SCAD asked me, do you want to be a university recruiter? I'm like, what does that mean? They're like, can you talk to art students and review portfolios? I'm like, heck yeah. So they're like, do you have a driver's license? Because you're going to be driving a lot. I'm like, heck yeah. I did not. That one and my first job really meant a lot to me. One, because I could share my experiences of coming to the US and with the potential students and with their parents, because I know my parents were in the same space. I could talk about design as not just you're an illustrator or you're a painter, but also design as a way to build communities, to build diverse spaces, and to be in the forefront of an organization. So Savannah happened. Stayed there 9 years, recruited, traveled to India, traveled all over the US. I even went to Fargo, guys. That was so cool. I went to Detroit. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing all the US all over. I was telling my family back home, and they would ask me how's it going, and my brother was in Chicago, so went to the Midwest and crashed in his apartment all the time. Like, it was cool. He didn't like that, but it was cool. But moving on, met my husband as well in SCAD, also a designer, 2 designers together, great stuff. We never agree or disagree. Moved to Seattle. I was like, so where is Seattle? Close to Canada. So we took a road trip, and that was the coolest road trip ever. I still give him a very hard time because we were in his Dodge Intrepid, a really old Dodge, and we weren't sure if it would make it through past Utah or Fargo as it was snowing. And we had a bunch of his fish tanks in the back seat, because he's a fish keeper and aquatic plants, yeah, whatever. I'm just an intern with him on that. I'm still learning the concept of home. And what I truly feel, it's not where you're born. It's places that shape you and create a feeling of belonging and where you feel included. I started my career here, restarted my career after 9 years, still doing recruiting, still doing creative recruiting, now at Starbucks. I'm grateful to be a part of Starbucks where I can be myself. I'm grateful to be a part of organizations such as Future for Us, Upwardly Global, who are creating spaces for women of color and refugees. I'm grateful that this is just the beginning, and I've grown my tribe by having the honor of being here today. I'm growing my community right here. I'm hoping when you walk away from this today, and all of the amazing talks that TEA has lined up for you, you will think about what does the concept of home mean to you. How are you continuing to connect with people around you? Or someone who's just sitting by you, do you know that person? Have you looked? We probably do. But what about someone sitting behind you? Have you said, hi, this is my name? So one thing I found in Seattle when I moved here, because I moved from the South, I was like, hey everyone, hi. But everybody like, oh God, she's weird. That's okay, I'm weird. How are you continuing to connect people and build diverse communities? How will that collectively shape your everyday work and your livelihood? Thank you. And I just want to say, I'm so honored again to be here and share my story with you. This is not easy, but it was not hard. Because I know walking away from this today, I've built community.